Good morning and welcome to the Mayor's Weekly. Pleased to have you with us today. And today joining me is Kathy Shamlis. Kathy joins me quite often in making our presentation on the Mayor's Weekly. And today we're going to talk about several different things, and we'll wrap up with giving you an overview of our budgeting process that's just now getting underway, and give you some insight as to how we go about spending taxpayer money in this city. Well, Kathy, this week, the first thing we talk about has been a good week, in my opinion, for the taxpayers. The council has approved just over $1 million in expenditures. Kathy, I've said this in comments to the newspaper, and as our chief financial officer, you can confirm this, that the pickleball courts, money that internally generated. Is that right?
It is.
No grant money in that, is it?
No, sir.
But the council approved the construction of a 9-court pickleball complex that will be located in close proximity to Swan Gym. That's a little over right at $700,000, and we hope that gets underway shortly. There's extensive amount of site work that has to be done, and corrective work on some drainage issues, and as I said in the paper, maybe by the end of the year, there's so many variables out there that we don't control, and but we believe it'll get underway. We hope, as a general rule, we all know fall is generally drier than the spring, and maybe the weather doesn't get in the way of what we're doing. But we'll move along as quickly as we can. We'll execute the contract, and as we said, the money's there to pay for that, and I'm excited about that. One of the means of paying for this, we have worked diligently, Kathy, at managing the city funds, and you do that, and you do it correctly, and there are certainly rules in what we can invest money in at the city, and but we have invested our idle funds in a way that, Kathy, we know it probably by the end of fiscal year 2024, which is about a year away, we will have earned enough interest. We're talking about fixed income investments, U.S. government treasuries, risk-free. We will have earned enough interest to pretty much pay for the pickleball court.
Sure will.
Now, being a CPA, that in my mind, I hope you confirm is that's akin to getting it free.
And it absolutely is, and it's really so good to be able to see the city be able to have some interest income enough to do a nice project like that.
Well, we've laughed about, Kathy is a CPA, if she knew how to book interest income. But
Finally.
I think she had to do a little refresher on her accounting study. But we're excited about that. The second thing, police protection. I am so proud of our police department. Just a few years ago, it seemed like every few months you read about what a dangerous place Jasper was to live, and it is to live, I should say. And you don't read that today, and I understand that things could change with a snap of a finger, but our police department does a great job in looking after our city, and it's a pretty big piece of real estate, 30 square miles, and you start thinking about that, 30 square miles, from one side of the city to the other, from top to bottom, there's a pretty good distance, and it's so important that our police officers be adequately equipped. Adequately equipping police officers, even if you have the money, has been a challenge because of supply chain issues and getting police vehicles, and we've been challenged with that very thing. We had an opportunity to buy 6 Dodge Chargers that are prepped for police work. an opportunity that would not wait, that we had to make the decision. And had we not bought the 6 Chargers, there's a good chance that we could have been a year and a half away from having a chance at buying any other cars. Those cars are going to be converted to electric vehicles, and you don't know how those vehicles will hold up in police work, and we're pretty certain that they'll be much more expensive. So, Kathy, we bought 6 new Chargers at about $350,000, didn't we?
Yes, sir.
So, and we will get quick delivery on those vehicles. There will be some prepping that has to be done before they move into police work, and they'll plug in places where our vehicles that have been pretty much used up will be taken out of service. So excited to talk about plugging over $1 million, infusing it directly into our city to make for a better Jasper.
Absolutely.
You agree with that?
I do.
Okay. The next thing we'll talk about, and it has come to my attention that, and it is rightfully so, that the residents of Blackwell Meadows is concerned about their paving project. And so after doing some investigative work, what I have learned, clearly Blackwell Meadows was in phase 1 of our paving project. There was some adjusting of the work schedule. Now, talk about the players and how this comes together. You have the city's planning department, you have the city's engineering firm, and then you have the paving contractor. And the coordination of that is pretty challenging at times. And what you have is, I'm not being critical of any council member, you might have a council member that wants to make some changes on work that's going to be done in their district. Absolutely nothing wrong with that. But as it turned out, the contractor failed to pick up the Blackwell Meadows work when they altered the work schedule. And that's the reason Blackwell Meadows is not paved today. Now, I can tell you, don't fret. The money to do your paving work is in the bank, and you confirm that. There's more paving to do. We have more money for paving that's going to happen across this city. Talking with the paving contractor, we believe, as best we know right now, that Blackwell Meadows paving would probably take place in sometime in September. So whatever we have lost amounts to nothing more than time, as
That's
I say,
basically-
it's going to happen.
that's it.
Is that right?
Exactly.
So if you have any questions, feel free to call us, but don't think you've been forgotten or left out. That's not the case. There was an error in compiling the work schedule, and but that will be corrected, and I can assure you it'll be corrected to your satisfaction. Clearly, if you're reasonable, because the paving that these folks are doing has really, really been quality. I'm pleased with it. The last thing we'll talk about is the budgeting, and we do this every year right here on the Mayor's Weekly, is we talk about the process of how we spend probably $36 million, Kathy?
It'll be about $36 million in the general fund, so.
Yeah, right. So around
Close to it.
$36 million, and we don't do that haphazardly, shoot from the hip, figure it out as we go along. We have a solid plan at the outset of the fiscal year,
Indeed.
and we follow that plan in a rigid fashion, don't we?
We do, and then we'll adjust it as we need to, based upon what's actually happening all during the year.
Well, Kathy, talk about, we have various departments, $36 million is a lot of money. Talk a little bit about what you do in bringing all this together. You incorporate all of our department heads, their input and that sort of thing, and I know you could talk about that till lunchtime today, but an interview, overview of how you go about that.
Well, the first thing is you and I are going to have a discussion about how we're going to proceed during the budget. After that discussion, we're going to get the department managers involved. We want to know directly from them what are their concerns, what do they feel like they need more money for to run their departments. And then, what I'm going to be doing, I'll gather all that information from them, take a look at it, analyze it based upon what's happening or what happened this year. I really like to try to get a good handle on how I think the city will end in this fiscal year from a standpoint of revenue and expenditures, really before I even want to take a look at fiscal year 2024. So I've done all that. I feel like I've got a pretty good handle on how fiscal year 2023 will end, because it hasn't ended yet. It'll end September 30th. And, at that point, I'm in a better position to help the council take a look at 2024.
Well, Kathy, we talked about this in recent time. A budget is a best guess educated call
It
based
is.
on historical evidence, right?
Absolutely.
Information. And things come up that you can't see, whatever. And, but you and I both are on the same page that we're sticklers for knowing where we're at financially at any given time.
Absolutely, because, if you don't know where you're at, you sure can't predict where you're going.
Right.
And so, I think that's just critical. And really to be able to know that you need to make some changes, perhaps, in how things are.
Well, Kathy, an example that I've heard you use from time to time that you can't insure against this. What if we had a tornado hit Jasper? A great deal of that cleanup falls on the city. Could run up huge bills. That would be an expense. Now, what would happen? We would take care of that. But what would happen is we would get our hands around as best we could, and then we adjust from there what that's going to cost. And you would do a budget amendment.
Yes, sir.
And then with that budget amendment, then we know where we're at in that moment of time. So we don't go into, we're in August, we won't go into September not knowing where we're at in August, will we?
No, sir.
Right. So you can be assured that we know where we're at financially on any given day. And if you have any questions, we be happy to share with you the information. It's public information, and we roll out everything that we do for your critique. So if you have those questions, please let us know. Come visit us, and then we'll share the information with you. You're entitled to know if you want to know. But we're sticklers about managing close to the vest, knowing where we're at every day, and then that way you don't have something bite you, do you?
No, sir. No, sir.
The last thing I'm going to talk about, just briefly, the subject of an animal control officer. We've made several attempts at that, and I'll have to say, and not being critical of any individual, it hadn't worked as well as we would hope it would work. And so we started talking in conjunction with our police department that probably we need an animal control officer that's not a sworn police officer, but has a background in animal control and handling animals and that sort of thing. And we have developed a job description to cover that. As we were building this job description, and I've watched this, it's very obvious that there's not enough work to fill up a 40-hour week looking after stray animals and that sort of thing. And nobody wants that kind of job. You can't have them part-time, that sort of thing. So we built a job description that has two prongs: animal control officer, environmental control officer. And those two pieces of work can, and for this city, will go hand in hand. We have just received the list of names that are approved by the Civil Service Board. We'll probably begin those interviews maybe next week, Kathy, to get this person that we're going to hire in place. And this person will look after animal control issues. But we've been hearing a great deal in recent weeks about not litter, but accumulations. And what do we mean by accumulations? You clean out your garage and your basement, and you just stack it out in the middle of your yard, and it's unsightly. But that's about the best description I can get. And this animal control officer will be traveling across this city in their work relating to animals. Simultaneously, they'll be looking, and there'll be some training associated where this person can identify things that qualify as accumulations. And what will happen, this animal control officer will relay that address to our police department, and a police officer will respond promptly to that request to investigate that. And based on their findings, they could issue a warning. If they issue a warning, you have a few days to do the corrective work. If you don't do that, the first citation is $250, I believe. And if you don't clean up, then it goes to $500. But we're going to make a concentrated effort to clean up some of the accumulations we're seeing in this city. And like I said, if you don't comply, people that don't comply are going to be dealt with harshly. That's just the way it is. In my opinion, a $250 fine is steep, but this person is going to be driving the streets of our city 5, 6, 7 days a week, depending on whatever their work schedule is. And we're going to identify places where we have accumulation that need attention, and we're going to, Kathy, we're going to build a system where we can be accountable. We know what's called in, what's been done, and move forward. So, and we'll talk more about that when the hire's made. We'll put it on our website, and like I said, these folks will not. This person will not be a police officer, but they will work in conjunction with the police department. In all likelihood, their direct reporting will be up to the mayor. We're going to talk about that, and so I want to make you aware of that, and I think we can make great headway in cleaning up some of the things that are unsightly in our city. Good. So, talked about a lot of things. I always welcome your questions, calls, and we'll do our best to give you an answer. Hope your day is good, and we'll look forward to being with you next week.